Tonight's true scary story is multiple stories about one haunted house in the Appalachian Mountains, and it is terrifying. Before we get started though, it really does help me if you hit that like button, but only if you appreciate my work. Also, if you want to get notified when I tell true scary stories that you guys submit to me, hit that subscribe button. Tonight's submitter's name is Tangina, and Tangina starts off the email by saying, I have multiple horror stories for you about my cousin's house in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. She stated that personally, she has never had an experience in this house, but every time she is in this house, she feels off, like she's being watched. The following stories happened to her cousin, her cousin's wife, her grandmother, her aunt, and her sister. Her cousin, her grandmother, and her aunt live in West Virginia all together. Her family visits a few times a year, and they all stay in the same house together. She then says these stories take place in order and get worse as they go on, and she was not lying. The first story takes place in 2018. Her grandmother was upstairs in her bedroom sleeping. Her aunt and grandmother stayed in the same room because her grandmother is elderly and needed help throughout the night. On this night, her aunt was downstairs in the kitchen, cleaning up, getting ready to come upstairs for bed. Before she could even get upstairs though, she hears this bang coming from upstairs in her bedroom where her mother is. She runs upstairs and her grandmother is holding her head in pain. So her aunt asks, what happened? Her grandmother then says that something slammed her head against the wall. Ever since this happened, her grandmother refuses to be alone, still till this day. As her health started to decline, she decided she was going to move her bed downstairs because she did not ever want to sleep in that room ever again. Till this day, if she is even alone for a second, she starts to panic. Poor thing, I feel so bad. The next story takes place in 2020, the first couple weeks of the pandemic. Tangina's younger sister and younger brother were staying at her aunt's house because her parents were out of the country. At the time, 3 of her older cousins worked. Her younger cousin, who is the same age as her younger brother, did not have school because of the pandemic. Her aunt and her grandmother were home too because her grandmother couldn't really go anywhere because of her old age and because of the pandemic. Because it was the pandemic, there was nothing to do, so her aunt decides that she's going to take her little cousin and her little brother out for a walk. Meanwhile, her eldest cousin and his wife went to pick up her older cousin from work. So at this point, nobody is in the house except for her little sister and her grandmother. But her little sister didn't know that her older cousin was at work, so she went upstairs to look for them. She checked all the rooms, but nobody is there. And then she goes into her oldest cousin's room to see him sitting down on the bed in front of the TV with just the light shining on him in front of the TV. He's just sitting there, staring at a blank TV. Her sister couldn't see his face clearly, but she said that it looked like a dark shadow of him. Now remember, this cousin is at work. She then hears her cousin say, "Come here." She says, "No, what do you want?" And he says, "Come here, come inside my room." She then just has a bad feeling, so she goes downstairs and opens the front door to see if anybody is outside. Keep in mind, she did not know that that cousin was at work, so she did not know that that was not her cousin. She then sees everybody getting out of the car, including the older cousin that she had just seen upstairs. She starts to panic, full-blown panic, this poor little girl. She was terrified and in shock because she had just seen him upstairs telling her to come here and sit next to him. She goes up to him and explains what happened, and he says, "I've been at work since this morning." The next story takes place a couple years ago when one of her cousins was going through a pretty rough period. He would often go smoke in the woods, but keep in mind, they lived in West Virginia, so they lived in a very forest-dense area. He would also drink a lot during this time. Now one night, it was late at night, and her eldest cousin and her wife were sleeping together in their bedroom. They always lock their bedroom door before they go to sleep though. Well, her cousin's wife wakes up randomly at 3 a.m. in the morning. She sees somebody walking around their bed, but she could barely see because it was pitch black in the room. The only light was coming from the Wi-Fi router, but she was able to make out that this, whatever this was, looked exactly like her husband's little brother, the cousin that was out in the woods smoking a lot. He had long hair at the time, and it was covering his face, and he was shaking his head side to side as he was walking. He was walking from the door to the foot of the bed and then back, and he just kept doing this. She was so scared, but she tried waking up her husband and he wouldn't wake up. So she starts digging her nails into him because she is frozen with fear, and this finally wakes him up. She says, your younger brother is in our room. And he's like, that's impossible. We always lock the door. Her husband then gets up and goes to check to see if the door is locked, and it was. So her husband says, we'll talk about this in the morning, and they went to bed. The next morning they get up, and her husband goes and asks his brother, listen, were you in our room last night? And his brother's like, I was not even home last night. They believed that something had followed him home from all that time that he had spent in the woods, in the Appalachian woods. In their religion, they believe that you are more vulnerable when you are intoxicated. They aren't supposed to get intoxicated because of things like this, so no one in their family does, except for him. They've had 2 experiences of seeing shadow people like him that weren't actually him, so they're wondering what it was, and they want to know if you guys can think about maybe what it could be. The next story happened about a year ago, and it happened to her cousin's wife again. She was going to the basement to do her laundry. Now they have 2 big fridges in the basement. The reason for this is because of how many people are living in the house and they need extra storage. On top of the fridge, they kept the laundry detergent and the laundry products. So her cousin puts the laundry in the laundry and then she reaches at the top of the fridge for the detergent. But when she reached for it, the box just slid back. At this point, she thinks her mind is playing tricks on her, so she reaches for it again and it slides back even further. Now she's getting annoyed, so this time she jumps up, tries to reach for it, and it slides aggressively, slams against the wall, and falls in between the wall and the fridge. Her cousin then freaks out, runs upstairs, and they still do not know what that was. Now this next part of the story scares me the most. This story takes place in the basement, but it happened to her eldest cousin. It was about 3 a.m. and he gets home from work late at night, but he's really hungry, so he goes downstairs to get food out of the fridge. Now he's a tall guy, so he hunches over and looks inside of the fridge. But then he gets this eerie feeling like someone is watching him, so he slowly turns around and he sees this figure of this girl in a white dress with long dark hair and her mouth just gaping open. Her eyes were literally rolled back in the back of her head and she was shaking her head aggressively from side to side. He ran upstairs so fast and he did not go down in that basement for a while after that. Now the last story takes place in the kitchen and it happened to her eldest cousin. He was cooking in the kitchen and he heard rattling coming from the side of the fridge. They had this magnetic scissor holder on the fridge. Well, he continued cooking and he just ignored the sound. He couldn't help but look back at the fridge again though, and when he did, he saw the scissors lift up out of the magnet holder and fall to the ground. Now they're not sure what happened here or if this was some type of message that was being sent to them. Probably not a good one, but they want to know if we have maybe any answers for them or suggestions or theories maybe. Whew. Wow, that was a lot of stuff that's happening in that house. I swear the Appalachian Mountains freak me out, man. I want to go visit them though because I just love scary stuff, but it freaks me out. Like, what the hell was that end? Like, what kind of message are you sending there? And also, that little girl standing there, that was the scariest part to me. I don't know what you guys thought was the scariest part, but that was the scariest part to me. I'm sorry, but no effing way. If you guys have any suggestions about what they could do to get this out of their home, because this sounds like a huge, like, infestation of just different things, then that would be really great. I'm wondering if it's a mimic or if the cousin who was smoking out in the woods brought something home with him, like something entered the home and was invited in because of that. I'm not sure, but all I know is that this is terrifying. So to end it with a good note, my favorite part, the shout outs. Now there is so many of you that I want to shout out. So please know that if I haven't given you a shout out yet, I promise you you're gonna get one. My first shout out goes to Angela Winnicky, 8162. Girl, thank you so much for your sweet message. I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate that you have been following me on here and TT and supporting me. That means absolutely everything to me. And your message was so cute and so kind, and honestly, it means so much to me. You have no idea. So thank you. I love you for that, girl. My next shout out is going to Cajun Honey Bun, and this is important to me because her little boy is in the ICU. His name is Boogie. If we could please all say a prayer for him because he is really struggling right now, I would appreciate that so much. Everyone, please say a prayer for him because she is struggling, her family is struggling, and her little boy is struggling. I am sending all love and light towards you. I will absolutely say more than one prayer for you, and I appreciate you supporting my channel, and it means everything to me that I am bringing some comfort to you in this time of stress. Really, you have no idea how much that means to me. I love you for that, and I truly hope that your little boy gets better. I know that he will. And with that being said, I tell true scary stories on here every other night that you guys submit to me. So if you like that, hit that subscribe button so you can get notified every time I tell a true scary story. And I also just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Stay safe, keep sending me your scary stories, and what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys. See you in the next one.